Halton News. I'm your host, Melissa Candelaria, filling in for Jessica Kading. Once again, our numbers are going up with 1,932 cases in total right across Halton, and we're going to break that down by municipality. Oakville has the most cases with 698. 88 of those are active and 11 reported deaths. As you can see, Burlington with 79 active cases, 11 deaths. Milton with 42 active cases and 5 deaths, and Halton Hills with 13 active cases and 11 deaths. Speaking of our rising numbers, Halton has yet to move into a modified stage 2, but according to the province, it may still happen. Now, while speaking with reporters earlier today, we asked Premier Doug Ford if a decision is going to be made anytime soon.
We're going to have that discussion. It's very concerning out in Halton. I had a good conversation with the mayors out in Halton as well. You know, we're going to have to discuss that over the weekend, and we'll have that answer on Monday. But I appreciate that. But folks in Halton, I know they're doing a great job, but it's concerning right now. I've seen the numbers go up again.
Now, meanwhile, there has been some confusion among Halton residents on when they can start getting their flu shot. We do know that some of the most vulnerable residents in Halton have been able to get one. So this includes the elderly, infants, and those with compromised immune systems. We've also heard from some as well that they were able to get one right away, while others have to wait a few more weeks. So in that same briefing earlier this afternoon, we asked the Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, Christine Elliott, when Halton can expect the flu shot to be widely available.
We started when the first shipments came in around the end of September and sent the shipments to long-term care homes, to retirement homes that were participating, and homes of congregate care, because we want to make sure that these very vulnerable residents are protected, as well as people in hospitals. Since then, shipments have been sent out to pharmacies, to physicians' offices, nurse practitioners, community health centers as well. And I can tell you that we initially ordered 5.1 million doses, 700,000 more than we ordered last year. We've also recently procured, with the assistance of the federal government, another 350,000 doses. So we've already shipped out over 1 million more doses this year at this time than we had last year. And we are receiving shipments on a regular basis. We are expecting within the next week or so that we will receive another large shipment in. So there is no shortage of flu shots for people. Anyone who wants to receive one will be able to get one, but these are set schedules that were established when we initially made the order approximately a year ago, and they are coming in. There is no shortage and there's no delay in shipments. So anyone who wants to get a flu shot will be able to get one. They may have to wait a short while, but it will be available soon.
Now, although she couldn't get into specifics as to when Halton exactly will get it more widely available, she does recommend that you do call your family doctor and get that update from them. Oakville is getting another brand new elementary school. Oakville North Burlington MPP Effie Triantafilopoulos announced today that the Ontario government will be providing $14.5 million to build a new elementary school in North Oakville for 671 students. This news follows the announcement of a new public high school for North Oakville and the opening of Dr. David R. Williams Public School, both funded by the province. So many Halton residents are quite relieved we aren't going into a federal election after a no-confidence vote Wednesday on the Conservatives' motion to create a specific committee to look into government spending during the pandemic, which includes the We Charity scandal. Also relieved not to be going into that election was Milton MP Adam Van Couverden, who says we need to focus on more important issues.
Right now, we've got to really focus on the Team Canada approach, and that means working together. And in a minority government context, one of the most important things is confidence. So I'm glad that we got through the confidence vote. It is tough times, anxieties are high, but many of us are working together on various committees to ensure that we've got everything that we need and that Canadians need to get through this thing together and to support Canadians and support the economy, support families, and keep managing the pandemic. I think we've done a reasonably good job in Canada. Certainly there have been some unprecedented challenges, but your question was going forward, what's next? Well, all the committees are seized upon their various areas of work. And the idea of a new committee that was going to study something in a very partisan way wasn't something that our government was prepared to support. But I also really wasn't prepared to support an election. So I'm glad we don't have to go that route, because I know that Canadians want to focus on their families, their businesses, their education, and whatever else is, preoccupying folks during these challenging times, and certainly not going to the polls.
So I have been guilty of handing an old cell phone like this one to my daughter to play with, but according to Halton Police, I probably shouldn't be doing that anymore, as they are getting unnecessary 911 calls from discarded phones, mostly from kids playing with their parents' old ones. Police say a phone that is no longer connected to a service provider can still make outgoing emergency calls to 911, which is a safety feature on every phone. But Halton Police also says that 911 call center receives hundreds of these calls each year from phones given to young children as toys. These calls tie up resources, including communication members who take the calls and responding officers. For example, recently, a young child accidentally called 911 on one of these toy phones, and operators kept the child on the line for more than 90 minutes while officers knocked on over 50 doors looking for the child to make sure that he or she was safe. It was determined that that same child had also called 911 from the same phone the previous night. Well, I sure won't be giving my old phone to my kid anymore, and Halton Police is hoping you will do the same. The Royal Canadian Legion in Milton has joined others across Halton who will be doing things a little differently this year because of the provincial COVID-19 regulations and restrictions. The parades and services have been cancelled in Haltonville at the Soldiers Memorial and Victoria Park Cenotaph in Milton. The Veterans Luncheon has also been cancelled. Now, the Legion says that they will have a limited parade and wreath ceremony on November 11th at Evergreen Cemetery, but because of COVID-19 restrictions, they will be by invitation only. They also say they are working on providing a live stream of the service for those who cannot be there. And speaking of Remembrance Day, as November 11th approaches, we are telling the stories of those who have fought to give us the life we enjoy today. And in this special feature, Nikki Wesley was able to dig a little deeper into the service of World War II veteran Hinson McLeod.
In a room tucked in the back corner of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 60 in Burlington, you will find the museum, a room full of memorabilia, artifacts, and historical photographs from the Navy, Army, and Air Force. It is a room full of stories. Legion First Vice President and Poppy Chairman Burns McLeod shares the story of this member of the Royal Canadian Air Force who fought in World War II, his father, Hinson McLeod.
As a university student from the Maritime Provinces, enlisted in 1940 in the Royal Canadian Air Force, trained as a pilot, was sent overseas with many of his friends in late 1940, was assigned anti-submarine patrol, flying out of the coast of Cornwall in twin-engine Hudson bombers with a crew of 5, and on one of those patrols in the Bay of Biscay, and they found a submarine coming back from Atlantic patrols to the coast of France, where the submarines would be restocked, replenished, the crews would be rested, and so on. And the thing was on the surface, and they did their darndest to try to bomb it into oblivion. And my dad always said later that they made a big mistake in not paying attention, enough attention to what was going on around them. And this aircraft, this German aircraft, obviously summoned by the submarine, because they were close enough to the coast of France to get help, came blasting out of the clouds and sprayed the aircraft with 7.62 ammunition and wounded all 5 members of the aircraft, members of the crew on the aircraft. Particularly since my dad was the only pilot on board, a wound in the right hand that he had was painful and bloody and caused no end of problems as they were now trying to fly back to the coast. The story goes that there were a bunch of airmen and officers waiting for them, probably waiting for several aircraft to come back. And as dusk came down and it got darker and darker, they had almost given up hope until they heard the engines in the distance. And they could hear this aircraft coming closer and closer and lower. And finally they said, well, he's too low, he's going to hit the drink and, crash land in the ocean and they'll all be killed. And lo and behold, up above the dike along the edge of the beach came roaring this twin-engine warplane, and slammed down into the runway. They had no hydraulics, everything was shot up. They careened down the runway at a great rate and went through a hedge at the end, but the only thing that saved them was that the tide was out. If the tide had been in, they would have hit the water. So Dad always took great pride in saying God was with him on that one.
At the hospital, the damage to his hand was so severe he lost most of the bones and was left with his thumb and pinky finger. Through the war, he was best friends with Russell Langley, who he'd met in basic training in Toronto. The two were posted together in Cornwall.
Sometime just after my dad was wounded, this young fellow went out on a patrol and the whole crew vanished. They never found them again. So when he came back in 1941 to Canada, he went obviously to see the grieving widow, and they'd only been married for 2 weeks before this young fellow went overseas. And one thing led to another, and in 1943 they married, and she became my mother.
Hinson then had to be recertified, proving that he could fly with only 2 fingers.
After the war, he ended up, by the way, coming back to Canada and served until 1946 as a training officer at No. 6 Bombing and Gunnery School near Belleville at Mountain View, and took a release in 1946.
He decided to return to university in Nova Scotia to finish his divinity degree. MacLeod then became a Baptist minister like his father before him. In 1959, he went back into the Royal Canadian Air Force as a chaplain until he retired at the age of 55, when he moved to Oakville.
And became employed with the Ontario Government Department of Correctional Services, working with troubled kids.
Burns remembers his father preaching on Remembrance Day.
When he was a minister in the Maritimes, he would put his uniform on and give his sermon from the pulpit in his officer's uniform from the service. And that was kind of a normal thing in those days, but boy, he sure looked good in it, and it always did fit. He never grew out of it. And we all felt, I think, the more, how can I put it, inclined to remember the fallen because of what he was doing in that particular congregation.
Reporting for Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.
What a remarkable man. Let's sit on that one for a bit while we go to break, but don't go away as we have more local news on the other side. Welcome back to Halton News. I'm Melissa Candelaria, filling in for Jessica Kading. If you're interested in becoming a part-time firefighter in Halton Hills, you have about a week left to apply. Deputy Fire Chief Bruce Morrison talks about the ideal recruit they're looking for.
Usually every year, the fall months, we start our recruiting drive for firefighters to replace those firefighters who have left in the previous year, or who have been moved away, or just realize that they don't have the time to participate anymore. So we always do have a turnover, and we're always trying to keep our numbers up. So that usually means that we plan for every fall to do a hiring for new part-time firefighters. So part-time firefighters, they supplement our full-time. We have 3 stations in Halton Hills. We have 2 in Georgetown, 1 in Acton. And we use our part-time firefighters to respond to incidents requiring more than just a 1-truck response. Our full-time firefighters will respond to the more minor calls, such as CO alarm activations or burning complaints, things like that that don't require a full response. When we do get a call that requires a full response, such as a structure fire or a motor vehicle collision, things like that, where we need more staff on scene, we page out our part-time staff. And how we do that is all the part-time staff that we have working carry a pager. And that pager is programmed to their station and will alert them that they're required to attend the station when an emergency call comes in. We are looking for, first off, someone who's physically fit, who's community-minded, who wants to serve their community, who has availability to respond to incidents either during the daytime or at night, but daytime is really appreciated. We're also looking for firefighters who who, by being a high-profile member of the community, are very mature and know how to act and represent the fire department in the best way, and really just a genuine desire to help people. We are problem solvers. We're called to help people. Not every call is an emergency. Some calls require creative thinking or just some assistance to the people to help them with their daily lives and give them that sense that they're safe within their community. And we're looking for people who can promote that aspect of the fire department. The deadline for those applications is the 30th of October, 4 o'clock. Once that deadline passes, we'll review all the applications that we receive. Once we go through the vetting process of the applications, then what we'll do is we'll invite them to have an aptitude test. And this is a test where it determines your ability to think about hands-on type things and pumps and levers, just to give you an idea of the aptitude that's required of a firefighter. And once we have that test, those people who are successful, we'll review those, and then we'll move them on to an interview stage. And once we have the interview, we'll ask them questions, about their availability, about their commitment to the community, about their experience. We'll invite them to go for physical testing. If the candidates are successful going through that process, then we'll have a medical with our department medical practitioner. And then once clearance is received from there, then the job offers will go out.
Here's a look at Milton Evergreen Cemetery. I had the pleasure of spending some time in this week. Beautiful carvings and fall trees. It looks so peaceful. Now, with the weather, it's going to look pretty much like this tomorrow. Maybe a bit of rain and a chilly one, though, at a high of 8 degrees. 8 degrees again on Sunday and Monday, but rain expected on the Monday. Tuesday, more rain at a high of 7, and Wednesday, cloudy at a high of 8 degrees. Tonight on Sports Week, Steve Foxcroft guest is CFL Hall of Famer Tony Gabriel. Watch this entire interview at 7 p.m. Tonight, right here on your TV. Let's take a look at a preview.
Give me how you did in Syracuse. How did your teams do there while you were there? Because obviously it got you did enough to get to play professional football from that. But how did your teams do when you were there?
Well, when I look back in 1967, that fall, centennial year, in my freshman year, I was competing against a number of American players, right? As to your point earlier, it was not known, to have Canadians come down to play for the team. So Eddie and I were the only Canucks, as we were called.
Right.
And that freshman year, I seemed to impress enough that I must have scared, and I played split end, by the way, Steve.
Okay.
A little wider out most times. And I was gaining a little bit of speed. I could do the 40-yard dash in about 4.7 seconds. So people started recognizing what you said as well. I had good hands and ran good patterns, disciplined patterns. It's very different in the States with a smaller field. Mm-hmm. If you were told 3 steps or 4 steps, made a big difference to make your cut.
Right.
Now in business news, it is Small Business Week, and one of the main themes is all about shopping local. Shop local has been a catchphrase for a while, especially during the holiday season. But when I spoke with Milton MP Adam Van Couverden earlier, he says it's something we should be doing all year.
Many people are choosing to stay home and shop online, and while staying home is encouraged, we also have to find ways to support local businesses because small and medium-sized businesses are truly the lifeblood and the backbone of Canada's economy. So when you shop local, you're supporting local farmers, local producers, local business people, local families, and I've been trying to do that all the same. When I'm in my Ottawa office right now, but when I'm in Milton, I always get lunch on Main Street somewhere, do my groceries if I can. Well, during the farmers market, certainly getting a lot of my groceries from local farmers. But there's still lots of opportunities. The Spring Ridge Farm store is open, for example. Most stores are open, so if you can order in for dinner a couple of times a week, grab your lunch from a local shop. Recognize that even franchises are often locally owned, so you're supporting local. Anytime you get an opportunity to shop in Halton, I'd encourage you to shop in Halton.
And I certainly will shop local for sure. Let's take a look at your stocks. We're going to take another short break right here, but we will be right back with an update from the Burlington Food Bank. Don't go away. Welcome back to Halton News. The Burlington Food Bank is busier than ever, seeing another increase in people coming for them for help this week. Take a look at today's update.
This is Rob Mayer, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank. And again, we just wanted to thank all of Burlington for your continued support. We've had a really busy week here at the Burlington Food Bank. A pretty serious increase in the number of clients that are asking for help. We're still offering our delivery and our contactless curbside pickup. Make sure that you're calling or emailing us, info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca, or give us a call, 905-637-2273. Also, we wanted to remind people to continue to support the rest of the community. Some of the people that we've had to help a lot recently are people within the service industry, working at the local restaurants. Their hours are cut. They aren't making as much as they used to. So if you're able to support them, you're able to afford it, do some takeout, eat on some patios. Just support the local restaurants as well as the local small businesses, whether it be shops or whoever it might be. Remember, we're in this together. We need to watch out for one another. Make sure you continue to wash your hands, wear your masks when you can't socially distance, and again, check in on one another and make sure everyone's doing all right and feel well supported.
And that's it for Halton News. From everyone here at Halton News, remember we are live at 5 Monday to Friday. From everyone here, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.